everyone. Without wasting time, let's start today's talk. So, basically, as she said, in TNBC, as a medical oncologist, we are seeing patients of varying outcome. Like, not all TNBC are bad, and not all TNBC are good. So, some are surviving. We are seeing even beyond 3 year, 4 year, even then, and some are even surviving less than a year. So there are something more than that simple usage of chemotherapy which we can do. There is something in the biology which we were knowing as of now, and still there's a lot more to explore. With that, we can increase the outcome in this poor, poor outcome of TNBC. So in TNBC, we know since few months back, we were using chemotherapy like we know anthracycline, taxane, eribulin, and then capecitabine. So we in different lines we are using all these chemotherapy, and we were not having any good immunotherapy molecule as of now. But there are immunotherapy which were under trial, and this is the one which is approved, which are going to talk today. Atezolizumab with the name of Tecentriq. So in this trial, main important highlight point is that PDL1 testing we have to see on the TIL, tumor infiltrating lymphocytes. We'll come to that in the talk. And we should remember PDL1 we are not seeing in the CA breast because this is the immunogenic driven. So therefore PDL1 we are seeing on the immunological cell, T cell, not on the tumor cell. So IC, we can say IC also. So we should keep that in mind. And if it is more than one, we can use definitely this drug to get the better outcome over and above chemotherapy. In India, but altogether world over, they are saying 10 to 20% of all breast cancer are around triple negative. But here in India, we see more than that, around 20 to 30% cases are triple negative in our practice. And around 50 to 60% of these we are coming across in the advanced stage, like either locally advanced stage, stage 3, A, B, C, or stage 4, metastatic. So regarding presentation, in which age group they are coming to us, minimum age is 22. It is very surprisingly minimum is 22, maximum is 75. And if you see this broad range, more patients are there in the earlier age group. If we talk about in 30s, 40s, so in this graph bar chart we are seeing peak is in the 40s age group, 41 to 50, and 60% of patients are less than 50 age group. So median age they have given 49 years, and we all know whatever we are seeing in our OPDs, mostly patient 35, 38, 46. So these are around 30 to 50 age group we are coming across most of our patients of TNBC. Then question comes, TNBC we know simple definition, lack of expression of ER, PR and HER2. So basically if we define molecular wise, gene expression analysis. So for breast cancer we have come across in multiple molecular subtypes. Basically earlier studies was seeing TNBC behaves like a basal like breast cancer, but later on combining the clinical practice, clinical outcome and this molecular signature, we have come to know all TNBC are not basal like, and not basal all basal like are TNBC. This is vice versa. So in this pie chart we are seeing roughly around 80.6% of TNBC are behaving like on the molecular signature, and rest are the very minimal percentage. So mostly are basal-like, and otherwise 6 unique subtypes are mesenchymal, immunomodulatory, basal-like 1, 2, mesenchymal, luminant. So these are all types which is being used in the trial setting. So if we talk about triple negative characteristically, how they are different from the other non-TNBC breast cancer. So basically, they are more likely to have aggressive biology. So they come with the grade 3 histology. and larger tumor at the time of diagnosis. So they rapidly progress and usually come at bigger size of the lump in the breast. Higher mortality rate, sorry, and they are more aggressive disease in fact, and higher rate of distant recurrences. So clinical outlook for the patient with TNBC, if you see the curve is for other malignancies and blue curve is the triple negative. Non-TNBC patients are behaving better. Like around 80% patients are surviving even beyond, I would say 9 years. And if we talk about TNBC, around 60% patients are surviving long beyond 9 years. So outcome wise, it is not all TNBC are bad. Some patients are surviving for long also. So otherwise survival it is less than the non-TNBC type. Median survival they are saying in the metastatic TNBC is less than 1 year. Here we are talking about a median survival for metastatic. And this chart, I believe they are showing for irrespective of the stage, all including all stages, stage 1, 2, 3 and 4. If we talk about 5-year survival of TNBC, these are lower than other breast cancer. Relative 5-year overall survival poor. It is roughly around 77% versus 93%. Although they have shown as per the stages wise also. Obviously, higher the stage, lesser the outcome. Like 5-year survival is around only 30%. And chances of having distant recurrence in TNBC and the breast cancer, so it is higher with the higher proportion of the recurrences are there with the TNBC, 33.9% as compared to 24%. And shorter mean time to local recurrence within 2.8 year. So less than 3 year time period is the for the local recurrence in the TNBC. So more likely to metastasis to lungs and brain and less likely to the bones. We know in our practice, hormone receptor positive ER, PR, they are more likely to the spread to the bones. So many patients we are seeing bone only metastasis. So there is separate category in the hormone, bone only metastasis. So in TNBC, they are more likely have a chances for visceral metastasis. And in TNBC, they are very like outcome is dismal. OS is worse than in other form of breast cancer. Recurrence rates are high. Aggressive heterogeneous disease that needs further segmentation into different subtypes to be decide which is a really aggressive and which is a better doing. So treatment options are also limited, particularly in the metastatic setting. So therefore, there are high unmet clinical need. How we can improve the outcome in these particular subset of the TNBC patient, which are going to behave badly in due course of time. So T cell infiltration, which I was discussing in the beginning. So among breast cancer subtypes, they have shown around all variety like HER2 positive, TNBC, luminal A or B, where HER2 is negative. So all these variety they have shown T cell infiltration. So if we talk about TNBC, like 30% are showing high TIL, like more than 60% of the cells are showing tumor infiltrating lymphocytes, and 41 are intermediate. So altogether, 70% of the tumor is showing the TIL. So this is the highest among all these subtypes of the breast cancer. High mutation rates of TNBC may produce tumor-specific antigens that can induce an immune response. We'll come to that. So basically, PDL1 is expressed on the TNBC, can express the immune response and is therefore a potential therapeutic target. And it is present on the tumor microenvironment on both tumor cells and immune cells, TIC. They can inhibit the anti-tumor responses. Therefore, and it is expressed in more than 50% of the advanced TNBC tumor. And therefore, if we inhibit this PDL1, there is a good anti-tumor response in the microenvironment and tumor cells are inhibited. PDL expression as per the Atlas, TCG Atlas data, high PDL1 in the TNBC as compared to non-TNBC. Yeah, this is the slide which we can easily understand. They are the cancer cells, these brown dots, and they release the antigens. Once antigens are there, so they in the lymph nodes they call the T cells for the priming and activation. So this priming and activation phenomena is important in the lymph node, which is inhibited in the presence of PDL1, and these in the presence of PDL1 inhibitor. So activated T cells, they goes into the tumor, infiltrate the tumor, and these cancer cells are recognized by the T cells, and they causes the killing of the cancer cell. Once there are PDL1 expression on these cells, they prevents this priming, and therefore this killing of the cancer cell by the T cell immune reaction is inhibited. So cancer cell starts growing. This is the mechanism of action, and this is the killing of the cancer cell. PDL1 expression leads to inhibition of the anti-cancer T cell activity. These blue one. So when we use the target and drugs and PDL1 inhibitors, so this mechanism of anti-tumor response is inhibited. And now we talk about the treatment planning. Any patient of TNBC with the metastatic either in the liver, bone, lung, brain, any vessel metastasis. So these are the first, second, and third line option of the chemotherapy. If we talk about locally advanced or early stage adjuvant chemo, neoadjuvant, after neoadjuvant PATH CR, we are seeing 30 to 40%. And if non-pathological CR, they have higher chances of recurrences, around 50% recurrences in the 3 year. So first line, we all know Taxane is the best drug. Then platinum combination with the gemcitabine. Second line, either capecitabine or eribulin, Halovan. We are using that. More than second line, 2 line chemotherapy, if patient has received, then we are left with the only eribulin or capecitabine in the third line, or best supportive care. Although we have many more option also. If patient performance status is good, we can use vinorelbine also. Vinorelbine, or sometimes if there is a good gap between earlier use of taxane, then we can use the docetaxel or nanoparticle nab-paclitaxel also in due course of time, after if there is a good span around 2-3 years span between first line or third line. So these are the option in later course of time. And most active agents we have discussed, anthracycline and taxane are there, which must have been we have used in the earlier setting. And to choose which agent is the best option is depends on the performance status of the patient, how much work she is able to do on her own, risk of adverse events, prior chemo regimes received, disease load, and patient preference, of course, is the should be the criteria. So with different chemotherapy combination, they have shown the survival outcome. With the eribulin, if you are using in the after third line, very dismal out of PFS is only few months. With capecitabine also little better. Paclitaxel slightly more better. Gem carbo is the same. Almost all these have similar outcome in less than a year. So it is currently taken as a metastatic TNBC as an incurable disease. Mainstay of treatment we all know as of now is the chemotherapy. Usually single agent is good enough, because if you use the combination, hardly any difference in the outcome apart from the more side effect profile. International treatment guidelines provide recommendation on the most effective therapy in the metastatic TNBC. And now we come to the landmark. We can say this is the landmark trial, which has given us the idea about the usage of immunotherapy in the TNBC patients. So atezolizumab was tried with the nab-paclitaxel in the TNBC subsets, and that is the IM Passion 130 trial. Let us see what is the design of this trial. Metastatic or inoperable, locally advanced TNBC, and no prior therapy for the advanced TNBC. Prior chemotherapy in the curative setting means patient has gone for surgery and then they have taken in the adjuvant setting. They were allowed if the treatment-free interval is more than a year or equal to 1 year. So they were taken into consideration. Performance status is good. Any PDL1 status were taken into it. Like PDL1, any means irrespective of the number, more than 1% were taken into account. And prior taxane use, they have stratified into these two categories, either usage of taxane, liver metastasis, PDL1 status on the ICs, inflammatory cells, either positive or negative. More than one is taken as a positive. So one was the placebo arm, one along with nab-paclitaxel. experimental arm was Tecentriq plus nab-paclitaxel. Tecentriq is atezolizumab. We were knowing from our lung cancer data or some other cancer data, solid malignancy, we know atezolizumab was used in the dosage of 1200 milligram 3 weekly. But here, just to for sake of simplicity with the weekly nab-paclitaxel, they have used the 840 milligram on day 1 and day 15. If we calculate, it will come out to be 1200 milligram 3 weekly only. So therefore, they have taken into account 2 weekly schedule of Tecentriq. And outcome wise, they have taken PFS and overall survival in the intention to treat and PDL1 populations. And surprising point is that they have taken first interim analysis, then second interim analysis, and final analysis for all these outcomes, PFS and OS in both ITT population subgroup and PDL1 populations. So why they have chosen nab-pacli? Because unlike solvent-based paclitaxel, we all know they do not require steroid pre-medication to lessen the risk of hypersensitive allergic reactions. And in real-world data, similar outcome, they can use interchangeably also at some point of time, nab-pacli to pacli or pacli to this nab-pacli. Dosing schedule, we know it is higher than the conventional paclitaxel, that is 100 milligram per meter square is the standard weekly schedule, because they have analyzed even more than 100, 150 also, and outcome wise is same with the higher side effect with the 150. Therefore, standard is 100 milligram per meter square of nab-paclitaxel along with the atezolizumab of 840 milligram twice a week. So this is the flow chart where how they have taken into account these two subgroups, Tecentriq with nab-pacli versus placebo, and they have come up with the interim analysis 2 times and then final analysis. And total 902 patients were randomized. Experimental arm 450, standard 450 with nab-pacli. PDL1, 40% of patients were PDL1 positive. Here also 41%. I don't know how exactly same. Either they have taken 41% upfront and then divided, I don't know. Or later on they have come to across that out of 451, these were the positive patients. So surprisingly, they are equivalent. On study, 246 patients, survival was seen in 182. On treatment, Tecentriq was at 64 patients out of these, and 43 on nab-pacli. So I missed one thing. Tecentriq was continued for how long? I'm not sure. I think it is there till progression, even beyond nab-pacli. We'll come to that later on. Yeah. So out of 902 patients, placebo and these experimental were very well balanced as per the distribution of the patients. And if we talk about demographic profile, age-wise, also almost same, 55, 56. Male, female was also 99, almost 100%. We know male breast cancer is very rare, so they were not taken, I think. And racial distribution, white were more in this study, and Asian were only less than 20%. Performance status good in all patients, and prior taxane in 50% in both arm, prior anthracycline roughly around 50% both arm, and metastatic disease were there in 90% of patients in both arm. Must be they have taken 10% locally advanced breast cancer, and sites of metastatic disease, lung cancer, lung metastasis were there in more than 50%, bones, liver around 30%, brain around 7%. So PDL1 were positive in 41% both arm. So approximately half of the patients were treated with the neoadjuvant or adjuvant taxane or anthracycline, and still they have reused the taxane. They are saying reuse of nab-paclitaxel can be there after adjuvant setting. So this was, I believe, first interim analysis in the intention to treat population. And here this we can see this chart, this graph is showing atezolizumab with nab-pacli, they are showing 7.2 months in the PFS as compared to 5.5 months with the only nab-pacli. So 1.7 months significant benefit with the Tecentriq. If we talk about PDL1 status wise, this blue one is showing the dark blue is the PDL1 in the experimental arm, light blue in the placebo arm, and dark red is the PDL1 positive in the placebo arm. I think, yeah, dark one is the placebo arm. So here they are showing 7.5 months in the maximum outcome with the PDL1 positive receiving the atezolizumab. This was the best subset. And the minimal subset they are seeing around 5 months or so. So this PFS benefit, as in the last slide we saw, around 1.7 months. Here they are saying around 2 months or 2.5 months outcome difference in the PFS if we see about around as regard to PDL1 status. So if interim OS analysis 17.6 months to 21.3 months. So 3.7 month good difference in the median OS was observed. Howsoever, this was not significantly statistically significant in first interim OS. Let us see as per the PDL1 status, same 25 months outcome as compared to 15.5 months in the minimal subsets. If we, this is a forest plot where they are showing baseline liver metastasis. Yeah, this is favoring the Tecentriq. Pritaxin also they are favoring, and PDL1 also they are favoring the PDL1 positive. Obviously, they are favoring the Tecentriq. Response wise, they are saying intention to treat population and PDL1 status. Obviously, response is much higher in the patients where the PDL1 status is positive, more than 1% on the ICs. So, if we talk about the safety profile of these new drug, and important adverse event of special interest, AESI here they say, of special interest. We all know there are some classical side effect profile with the immunological drug, that is hepatitis. So all the inflammatory reaction, hepatitis, hypothyroidism, pneumonitis, meningoencephalitis, colitis, adrenal or diabetes. So all are inflammatory, which are higher as compared to placebo arm. And if you talk about grade 3 or 4, hepatitis, hypothyroidism, pneumonitis, any grade side effects are higher, although grade 3 and 4 are much less than 1%. So this is very important aspect to keep in mind. So some side effects are there, but they are, I think, manageable. Severe side effects are not there usually. More than 20% of grade adverse event, alopecia, fatigue, nausea, diarrhea, they can be seen in the Tecentriq arm. Although I think percentage-wise it is almost same as their chemotherapy counterpart. So these are not attributable to the atezolizumab. I think even neutropenia, it is also almost same as the chemotherapy part. So these side effects are usually because of chemotherapy component of this combination. Serious adverse event SAE occurring in more than equal to 1% of neither arm, regardless of the attribution where they are attributed. So pneumonia in 8 patients in the Tecentriq arm, just 2%, UTI less than 1%, dyspnea 1%, pyrexia 1%. So higher proportion of patient in the Tecentriq arm than the this placebo arm reported a serious adverse event, 23% versus 18%. So updated efficacy and safety, they have come up with the second interim analysis. I think in second interim analysis, 24-month OS, they are giving around 42% at 2 year, 21 months as compared to 18.7 months. So this is again 3 months difference, I think 3.3 months difference in the OS benefit. And if we talk about PDL1, status wise 25 months versus 18 months. So this is a good difference of around 7 months. If we take PDL1 status into account, so this atezolizumab is showing the 25 months survival as compared to 18 months. So updated safety analysis, also well balanced, serious adverse event, although we are seeing with the atezolizumab slightly higher. Other graphs are almost same, except this AESI, that is adverse event of special interest. As I said, immunological side effect, they are more in the atezolizumab arm, although grade 3 and 4 are lesser, although higher than this chemotherapy, but not so much, which we are afraid of. So this is the first phase 3 study, IMpassion 130, to demonstrate benefit with the cancer chemotherapy in the metastatic TNBC patients. And benefit versus this profile of this Tecentriq is they supports a change in practice in first line treatment of the metastatic TNBC. Progression-free survival, they are showing with the good hazard ratio 0.8, PDL1 wise 0.62, and good overall survival difference of 7 months, reaching up to 25 months in PDL1 positive population, and nothing new safety signal. Nothing new means in the final analysis. And biomarker testing should be performed as standard at diagnosis of metastatic breast cancer to enable patients to benefit from these treatments. Because earlier we were not thinking of using this immunotherapy, but now recommendation is that any metastatic TNBC comes to us, even treatment naive, we should go for the PDL1 testing on the standard platform. To summarize my talk, higher incidence of TNBC in India as compared to the rest of the world. It is associated with high relapse rate or poor prognosis, and limited treatment options are there in the MET setting. No new adverse event were reported with this atezolizumab, and 7 months difference was there, again same. IMpassion the first study to say the benefit. Benefit and this profile, the sameness, supports a change in the practice in the first line setting of the metastatic TNBC. So even in the NCCN guideline or some other guideline, this has come, and this is now FDA approved, and even DCGI approval is there for the this combination of these two drugs, atezolizumab and nab-paclitaxel. So these are package insert, and this same study, I think, in the smaller abstract form. Thanks to all for the patient listening. Now I will stop here.